Our speaker today is Taylor Johnson. He's the RE over in Lambarger, Taylor graduated in '03, and it's great to have him back on our campus during homecoming week. We'd like to have our alums come speak to us. So since he graduated successfully, he's working on his master's now in divinity at seminary. Give him a welcome, will you? Taylor Johnson.
Not gonna lie, having people behind me makes a little self-conscious, so we'll see how this goes. In preparation for my speaking in chapel today, I thought it might be a little interesting to find out how much people at Mid-American Nazarene know the Bible. And I thought it might be interesting to see how far my voice could project. This is so much better. I thought it would be great to find out here at Mid-American Nazarene University, how much do you people really know the Bible? I mean, you guys like to walk around as if you know a lot about the Bible, but I thought I would put you to the test. So I went around Campus Center and asked a simple question. Have you ever heard of the story of Hosea and Gomer? Actually, not very many people of you knew the story of Hosea and Gomer. I got a lot of blank stares. I got a lot of Gomer Pyle references. But I did get a few who knew what they were talking about, and I had one interesting answer to my question, and this was from our very own Amanda Holsinger. She looks at me, I ask her the question, she kind of looks at me and leans in a little bit and says, "Is that the one about the whore?" Yes, Amanda, yes it is. But it is so much more than that. It's a far deeper story than that. So I would like to tell you the story about Hosea and Gomer, which is found in the Old Testament in, oddly enough, the book of Hosea. I'll let you guys compose yourselves. First, a little background on Hosea. Hosea was actually a prophet, and prophets, their job was to actually be the messenger or the spokesperson for God himself. This guy, this prophet, was the very mouthpiece of God. Now, normally, their job was to tell people, you've been doing some wrong things, you've been doing things that have kind of been ticking God off a little bit. This was his job. Now, especially during the time when Hosea was a prophet, Israel had kind of come into some economic prosperity, so they were feeling great about themselves as far as worldly standards go. But because of this economic prosperity, they had let their spiritual and moral lives fall apart. So remember, Hosea's job is to tell the people about their moral lapses. In the beginning of the book, in the beginning of Hosea, God speaks to Hosea, and he gets the shock of his life. God tells him to go and marry a prostitute. Now, it doesn't say go and marry somebody who used to be a prostitute. God tells Hosea to go and marry an actual practicing prostitute. And the crazy thing about all this is that we don't get 2 verses into Hosea when it says God first spoke to Hosea and told him to marry a prostitute. These were some of the first words ever uttered to Hosea from God. Talk about a rough few days on the job. I mean, here he is. He gets his prophet license. He's feeling great about himself. You know, he's kind of got a little strut in his step. He's a prophet now. He's thinking, great things are going to happen in my life. I am a prophet of God. So he's getting all excited. And so he prepares himself before God, and he says, all right, God, what do you want me to do? Go and marry a prostitute. Now, for those of you in the audience who have let Hollywood kind of shape your idea of the act of prostitute or the prostitute themselves, let me tell you, Julia Roberts is not your average prostitute. I've seen Cops on Saturday night, and I have never once seen a prostitute who looks like Julia Roberts, ever. So Hosea's like, no, seriously, God, what do you want me to do? This is how Hosea's prophetic career starts out, by marrying a prostitute. Now imagine how difficult this marriage must have been, marrying a prostitute. She's involved in precisely the things that Hosea is called to prophesy against. He's joined himself to one of the worst defilers of God's name imaginable. Because she was a prostitute, she was more than likely a temple prostitute who was used in rituals towards the god Baal, who was known as, everybody knows, the anti-Yahweh, or the anti-God. This guy was no good, and here he is, a prophet of God, Hosea, marrying a temple prostitute. Every time he would walk out into the marketplace, every time he would step outside of his door, he could feel people's eyes burning on him. He could feel their stares. He could hear them whisper and laugh. That's the guy. That's the guy who married the prostitute. Did God really call him to endure this? Did God really call him to endure all that he's going through? And to make matters more complicated, she begins having children. And God says, you know, I would really like to name your kids. That seems really nice of God, right? That seems, thanks, God. That'd be really great if you could name my kids. One less thing I have to worry about. Yeah, not so much. Their first child, God decides to name Jezreel, which means scattered, because God says he's going to scatter his people in judgment. Rough start. Then they have a little baby girl, and God says, I would like to name her Lo Ruhama. That sounds kind of pretty, right? Yeah, it means not loved, because God says he is not going to show love to his people any longer. And finally you think, okay, seriously, God, I've given you two of these. At least give me like a Stephen or an Adam or something. No, Lo Ami. Anybody? Not my people. Because God says that Israel is no longer my people and I am no longer their God. So picture these kids outside in their yard playing with all their friends, and Hosea steps out on the front porch. Scattered, not loved, not my people. Come on into the house and get some dinner. That's a rough childhood. So here's what we're working with. We've got a seemingly worthless prophet, a temple prostitute, and 3 kids named Scattered, Not Loved, and Not My People. And to add insult to injury, these kids, they probably weren't Hosea's. More than likely, she had these kids from some different guys that she met during her temple prostitution. This family is winning no Family of the Year award. Throughout all of this, nowhere does it say that Gomer gave up her life of prostitution, that after she became married, she became this model housewife, cooked and cleaned, and did everything that Hosea wanted. No, she continued in her life of prostitution and promiscuity. There were nights when Hosea would be laying in bed and he could feel Gomer kind of slink away out of the bed and vanish into the night. And she would come back the next morning, stumbling in, reeking like stale beer and cheap cologne. There would be days on end when he would never hear of Gomer, he wouldn't see her, he would have no clue where his wife had gone. And as much as he begged her to stay around, if it's not for me, stay around for the kids, she would just shrug her shoulders and turn away. The allure of her lifestyle, it was too much for her to handle. She could not ignore it. So she continued in her adultery against Hosea, and Hosea continued to be heartbroken. why would God call somebody to endure this? Why would God call somebody who wanted nothing more than to speak his very words to endure this hell? But you know what? God has not called Hosea to do anything that God himself would not do. This story of Hosea and Gomer is precisely what God was going through with the people in Israel. In fact, throughout our book of Hosea, these two stories are intertwined so seamlessly sometimes that you're not sure if you're reading about Hosea and Gomer or God and Israel. God wants Hosea to understand what he's gone through with the Israelites. You see, he's always been there for them. If we read further back in the Old Testament, he has always been there for them. He's the one who brought them out of Egypt. He's the one who brought them out of slavery. He's the one who destroyed their enemies. He's the one who's always provided for them. So why would they leave him for other gods? As with Gomer, the call of the world was too intoxicating for them to handle. The call of the world, all the money and all the fame and the wealth was too much for them to ignore. Beginning in the 2nd chapter of Hosea, God presents himself as the husband and Israel as the adulterous wife. God is sick and tired of it. He can't handle this anymore. He's pacing back and forth and he is spewing mad. And he's getting ready to pronounce his judgment, and it does not sound good. In verses 3 and 4, he tells Israel that he's going to strip her naked, leave her out in the wilderness to die, and he will no longer love her children. I believe the level of his anger reflects the level of his love. God is simply torn apart. He is hurt by the way Israel is treating him. And throughout this entire tirade that he has, it's not as if he's stopped loving them. It's not as if he's given up hope on them, because he hasn't. He still has love for them. When we read about that in the following verses in 6 and 7, he's doing what he can to keep her from leaving. He's putting obstacles in Israel's way. He's doing whatever he can to keep Israel there. Or is it Gomer now? Are we talking about Gomer now? This is the point in the story where these two stories become intermingled. These are when the lines become blurred between these two stories. Hosea has tried boarding up the doors, but she just rips them off. He's tried blocking her way out, but she just goes around him. In spite of everything that he has done to keep her there, to keep her with him, she goes out into the arms of her other lovers. Hosea and God are left empty-handed, hurt, and confused. And you may be sitting there thinking, man, Gomer and Israel, they are screwed up. Why would anyone think about leaving the only one that had ever shown them genuine love? Don't you get it? We are Israel. We are Gomer. We're a part of this story. In fact, this is our story. We're the ones who sneak out at night. We're the ones who leave for other options. You and I, we're human. We have trouble being faithful to one thing at all. It's a miracle if we can stick to one thing for very long. So the question I'm asking all of us, the question I'm asking myself, what is it that drives us in our adultery towards God? Now this is strong language, I understand. And I understand the word picture that comes along with that. But that's exactly what it is, adultery. We're the ones who look for love in other places and through other gods. We are guilty of leaving God empty-handed, hurt, and confused. So what would drive us to leave the only one, to leave the one that has shown us unconditional love more than anyone? I believe that 3 things can contribute to this. Obviously a lot more, but I've chosen 3 things. The first one can best be illustrated through the game show Let's Make a Deal. So if I could have one volunteer come up here very quickly, anybody. How about Ben? Everybody give Ben a round of applause. Okay, Ben. I have in my hand right here for you a $1 bill. And you can have this $1 bill, or you can have what's behind door number 1.
Door number one.
He's chosen door number 1, everybody. Let's go see what it is.